our senior colleagues, teachers, and young students for this lecture. It's always a pleasure to have every month one very senior professor to come and share his research work and talk to the young scholars. I would like to invite Rakhi to start the program.
So,
over to you,
good
Rakhi.
evening, everybody.
Sir, 1 minute, sir. We want to introduce you.
I don't need any introduction. I'm very small man.
No, sir, younger generation is also here, so they would like to know a little bit about
Okay, fine.
So, Rakhi, straight away, share very briefly about foundation and then introduce sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening. A very warm welcome to everyone who has joined us this evening for this lecture. We are extremely excited and delighted to welcome you this another distinguished guest lecture, which is titled Palaeopathology at the Beginning of Agriculture, Issues of Adaptation, Cultural Progress, Indian Scenario, by our guest speaker, Professor Subhash R. Walimbe. Before we start, I would like to take a moment to introduce Anthropos India Foundation and our founder, Dr. Sunita Reddy. Founded in 2011, Anthropos India Foundation promotes the discipline of anthropology, its philosophy, and its methods to engage in applied and action research. Our work seeks to address issue of local communities through a bottom-up approach unique to their culture. We conduct community-based research rooted in local knowledge systems, local culture, and ecology to inform policy initiatives and drive transformational impact. AIF also conducts workshops, trainings, and advocacy on various issues, especially on children. AIF promotes visual anthropology through vibrant, authentic, meaningful ethnographic films and photo documentation. We also publish a quarterly multilingual digital magazine,
Some problem.
Yeah.
Audio problem.
Yeah.
It's a network issue, I guess.
Yes. So, Rakhi, there's some network issue.
Monthly magazine and edition and community. Yes, ma'am. I think. Can I?
Yeah, you
Yes,
are.
yes.
Now I'm
Please
audible,
go
ma'am.
ahead. Please go ahead.
Just introduce her and then we'll start.
Okay, ma'am. Sorry. Okay. So first I introduce our founder, Dr. Sunita Reddy, is an associate professor at the Center of Social Medicine. Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead. I thought you should be.
Again, ma'am, network.
Yeah. No, that's why you just start.
Okay, ma'am.
Introduce her and then we'll start the program.
Introduce.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, ma'am. So I would also like to take a moment to formally introduce our guest speaker for this lecture, Professor Subhash R. Walimbe, a retired faculty member of Deccan College Postgraduate and Research Institute, Pune, and bioarchaeology. With over 4 decades of research, he has played a key role in shifting Indian skeletal studies from racial typology to a biocultural approach. His work has significantly contributed to understanding population movement in South Asia, challenging the Aryan Invasion Theory and demonstrating genetic continuity over 10,000 years. Professor Balimbe's research on paleopathology has provided crucial insight into health, nutrition, and disease pattern in ancient Indian population. He pioneered study on children's skeletal remains and the impact of agricultural transition on human morphology. His advocacy for better excavation practices and skeletal preservation has influenced archaeological methodology in India. Recognized for his interdisciplinary approach, his work continued to shape bioanthropological research, making him a key figure in South Asian archaeology and human evolutionary studies. Now, I would like to request that today's honorable speaker, Professor Subhash R. Walimbe, continue with this session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Rakhi. Sir, over to you, sir, to start the lecture.
So thank you very much. Nice introduction. I am audible now, no?
Sir, yes, sir.
Is there any echo?
No, sir. I hope there's no other.
Okay, thank God. I think we can proceed now.
Yes.
So thank you, Rakhi, for nice introduction. I must thank Sunita ji. I must thank Saba and Chandna Mehta and other members of the foundation for inviting me here. It's really good to be here, but I take it as a more than my own pleasure. I take it as an honor for my branch of science. Very rarely, so I'm really happy today. And I thank all the observers or participants here for this meeting. It's really good to be. I thank you for your time. I really appreciate all of you coming here and sharing your comments, your suggestions that will really help us improve. Our methodological protocol and other things. I am given some 45 minutes for this presentation, and this is 6:45, I think, 6:40, 4 to 7. So I will stop by 7:30, plus 1 or 2 minutes here and there. So I think I will start with the slides now. This subject, as somebody said, I did altogether different kind of anthropology throughout my career. I worked on human bones, not fossils, but bones which represent the last 10,000 years time bracket. Very accurately, my subject can be described as osteobiography. Osteos is bone and biography is biography. So whatever you are, your age, sex, type of food you eat, type of diseases you are suffering from, the place from where your ancestors came, type of occupation you are engaged in. So all these things gets written on your bone in some or the other manner. And we try to read those life histories that we can read on bones. So that's our subject is called as osteobiography. In burial conditions, our main source of information is human bones. And in buried condition, also issues gets disintegrated in a couple of months, maybe 6 months, and max. And what we get is dry bones of this kind. Dentition is tougher than bones, actual skeletal remains, so they can survive for a much longer time. The time bracket on which I'm working, well, one characteristic of this time bracket is we have almost 65% of our skeletal sample represents, more than 60%, represents subadult age group. Children, well, small kids, even neonatal days also we have, abortions during the third trimester of pregnancy, or children below 5 or 6 years of age, we call them sub-infants, subadults. And usually they are buried in this kind of urns. Either single urn or 2 urns or 3 urns, but twin urn burial system is most common in the agricultural, economical, we call them Neolithic age bracket, a cultural bracket. These bones are, these subadult bones, they are very fragmentary, very delicate, but because of the protective cover offered by this, by these urns, they stay for a long time, and this is really good for the progress of our subject in India. The area from where our bones come, this area, this map that I'm showing here, it is a very old map, some 15 years, some 10 years we have not improved it. but this will give you characteristic distribution of the bones that we have skeletal sites from where we have human bones. A couple of some in 2016, my colleague Dr. Beena, she conducted a survey, and her data tells us that there are around 150 sites in India, right from Mesolithic to early historic, where human bones are coming. And only representative sites are shown here. There are many things that are to come from Nagaland, from Assam, Bengal, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, and all these speech. There are several dots are to come here. Our main knowledge of hunting gathering Mesolithic populations, it comes from this region, Gangetic Basin, the sites excavated by Allahabad University Department. Basically our knowledge of Mesolithic hunting gathering Mesolithic populations, semi-nomadic, semi-settled populations. It is that's the given to the subject by this Allahabad University. These sites, Mesolithic sites, they are not only confined to this area, but there are some Mesolithic sites right here in Gujarat, a site called Langanas. And it is these sites in Gangetic Basin, they date something like 8,000 BC, 5,000, from 8 to 5,000 BC. But this site of Langanas is 2,000. We don't have authentic carbon-14 date for these things, but definitely they were coexisting with the Harappan sites at that time, because we see some trade relations between the Langanas, between the people of Langanas and people of Harappan populations around. Harappa, Indus Valley civilizations, there are, I don't have to tell you, everybody knows about what Indus civilization is. Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, basically they are spread here in the Indus Valley. But recent excavations in Rakhi Gadi, and there are Sinoli, there are many other sites which show clear indications of this early, we have very clear, more or less clear rather, spectrum of their activities, their lifestyle during these early urban populations. This is what I'm showing you. This is site of Narmada, the river of Narmada, which flows westwards. And notionally above that, north that we call it North India, and below that, south of that, South India. So most of our knowledge of early agro-pastoral communities, Neolithic, I'm talking about agricultural possibility, early agricultural populations and pastoral populations. We call them Neolithic and Chalcolithic populations. So most of our knowledge of Neolithic communities comes from the southern states of India. Of course, there are some sites, Neolithic sites, like we have a site of Lagnas, a site of Burjahom, which is in Kashmir belt. So this is also a Neolithic site, but most of our knowledge of Mesolithic India comes Chalcolithic and Mesolithic, Chalcolithic and Neolithic populations. It comes from the southern states of Maharashtra, southern states of India. Iron Age megalithic sites that are thoroughly excavated by Deccan College, and there are several other our Deccan College colleagues, friends, and our associates, and there are really hundreds of sites of Mesolithic culture, megalithic culture, and we have fairly good knowledge of how we were right from last 10,000 years time bracket, what was our lifestyle, what was our occupation, how we were staying. I mean, we have very fairly clear knowledge of all these things. Our skeletal sample represent last 10,000 years, and as I said, from the cultural point of view, we classify this population as hunting gathering Mesolithic, early agro-pastoral Neolithic, Chalcolithic communities, Bronze Age, Harappan urban dwellers, and Iron Age megaliths. The dates I'm giving here, I'm using the word BC or AD. These words are, when we are writing some reports, we don't use this terminology because it's no longer used when we are writing, of course. We use that CE thing. But when we are while giving lecture, I think this is more understandable. So I'm sticking, and since I'm talking to not professionals in my subject, so I will prefer to use this age-old technology BC and AD. Hunting gathering Mesolithic populations that permanent settlements and base strategy. was hunting gathering, of course, but probably they started experimenting farming, domesticating cattle and sheep goats. Neolithic Chalcolithics, they were permanent villages, but they were rural cultures. And from here, we have very clear evidence of intensive domestication of plants and animals. They were pastorals and they were agricultural populations. Then Bronze Age Harappan dwellers, they were Bronze Age, they were highly urbanized. We have cities. In Neolithic Chalcolithic, we have rural cultures, but on the contrary, where Harappa, we have most of the Harappan sites, they are big cities. There are some Harappan level villages as well, like the village of Padri. It's a small village, but it shows the Harappan type of culture. Iron Age and Megalithic, actually, these two are different sets of population. Iron Age population is different and megalithic population is different, but they occur simultaneously. So it is notionally, we club them together and we call them Iron Age megalithic populations. This megalithic here economy was based on agriculture, animal breeding, but in this time bracket, we have some iron trading activities also we see. Our sample that I'm talking about basically comes from these two levels, Neolithic, Chalcolithic, and Harappan wells. Well, in the last, the bracket which I showed, the main cultural, evolutionary step we took, we call it origin of agriculture. And it was a very, very dramatic, very, very historic, very big milestone which I achieved during this period. Till 1984, there was a debate whether this change from hunting gathering lifestyle to settled agricultural lifestyle and pastoralism, was it by compulsion or by choice? Till 1984, there were two schools working on two different directions. But after this mid-80s, there is general consensus among anthropologists and archaeologists that probably overpopulation is the reason. The population was growing beyond the carrying capacity of the land. Every piece of land has certain limitations, how much biomass it can sustain. So since the population is rapidly increasing, it was necessary for the population to increase the carrying capacity of the land artificially by domesticating plants and animals. One important change that occurred because of this agriculture is life pattern change dramatically. Earlier, in Mesolithic levels, when we were hunters and gatherers, every day morning we were to go in search of food in forest or wherever it is, just to hunt some animal or get some prey, get something to eat in the form of tubers, roots, or whatever, or some meat. So every day morning, the main worry was to get some food to fill your belly for the day or maybe for a couple of days. Hereafter, in agricultural economy, food procurement became much easier. You don't cultivate to produce grains for the day or for months, but you cultivate for the year. Whatever you are producing, you can store neatly in one corner of your house, and you can use those grains for your evening or morning meals. So this is what we call as surplus economy. You are producing much more than you actually need for the day. Surplus economy, and consequently, you have to have concept of food storability. You can store your food, and because you are producing surplus, which you can't consume in a day or two. Well, one consequence here is since there is a concept of food storability, we are producing much more than what you need for a day or for weeks or for months. Well, not everybody in the village, in the settlement, need to go for agriculture. I mean, I will give an example. If imagine a village of say 100 households. Of these 100 households, maybe 80 people, 80 households. I mean, they can go for anthropology, they can go for agriculture, they can go for whatever food requirements. But you can spare 15 to 20 families in a village to produce the other needs that you need. So this is how new crops emerged. What other needs are well, we need potters, we need carpenters, we need cobblers, we need blacksmiths, and many other these kind of things. So they will prepare this pottery or well stone implements or whatever for us, and they will sell those things to us, and in exchange we'll offer them some food. So this kind of exchange for system, uh, new crafts emerged, and now what we have is in vernacular we call these crafts as bara bolutedar. Uh, in Marathi we call them bara bolutedar. So in our understanding, the main occupations to emerge are we have potters, which were, first we have raw pottery, then we have refined wheel-made pottery, well-baked pottery, the pottery which can be used to cook and store food items. The other profession which emerged very early in our history, when you are producing surplus, you need some storage items where you can keep your food neatly, safe from other, uh, well, mm, not to get spoiled. So this bamboo basket making is one of the earliest professions which um, emerged to help us. Then stone workers, they prepared these kind of objects which were really helpful for us to prepare food culturally. Before cooking a food, you need to grind it, and this kind of stone equipments they were, and this kind of peoples, they were one of the earliest professions we can imagine. Then brick making, carpentry, they improved our dwelling pattern, and also they helped these kind of chulas. This is from Orissa again. These kind of chulas, they helped us can cook food in this kind of chulas and uh, eat it to our taste, eat it soft. Then iron smelting, which came a bit later, you have they helped us improve our agricultural toolkit. When your agricultural toolkit is improved, your yield grain which will be much more. You can multiply it so that you can produce more with uh, almost equal amount of energy. Of course, you have some tools and other things, arrowheads and other things. But basically, what in the present context, I can tell you, these are the things which are really helped us improve our food economy. Now, this major milestone in our history, origin of agriculture, the main consequences are demographic explosion. We grew biologically, population size-wise, in much more rapidly. Consequence was earlier we had very small settlements, small groups were staying together, then smaller villages, then smaller villages which were temporarily occupied. Then you have permanently occupied villages, townships, urban civilizations. Now, all these things you don't have to when you are going for agriculture. There is no need to mobilize. There's less mobility. You don't have to go for for hunting and looking for prey and other things. So less mobility. The population growth and crime is which origin of agriculture, more epidemics. We are going to see each of them, consequences of each of them in the following slide. And everything resulted in degraded health status of those protesting ancestors. One slide I want to share with you. You read it carefully. Population growth for the million-year period, right from our origin to the, say, upper Paleolithic age. This population growth was estimated to be around 0.0015% per annum. After initiation of agriculture, after we set one place, this population growth, from 8,000 to, up to for AD, it is estimated to be around 0.036 per year, which means during the earlier period when we were hunter gatherers, when we were in age, you expect addition of 1.5 persons in population size, 1.5% increase in population size after every 1,000 year. In agricultural economy, every 100th year, we have addition of 3.6 persons in the population size. To compare these figures, I am giving you annual population growth for India in 2023-24. This time bracket is 0.92%, which simply means every year there is addition of 9 to 9 plus individuals every 10th year. This is the rate going. I don't have figure for that. That figure is yet to be published. The earlier figures I am giving, this is not our research. This is not our research, but I'm just copying it from some sources. And the figure I'm giving for the present figure 23-24 is copied from Demographic Atlas of India. Now, in hunting gathering, what is the reason for this? In hunting gathering, hunting gathering societies, the reason is for a population, women need a gap of at least 3 to 4 years between children. I remember last year I wrote a blog on grandmothers, grandparents for that our forum web page. I don't know how many of you read it, but there I give importance of grandparents in uh, for the population, whatever population growth or whatever, um, our survival. In hunting gathering societies, hunter gatherers, women need a gap of at least 3 to 4 years between children, as multiple births. Um, uh, Highly dependent babies, they're incapable. Well, you can't move around with more babies at one point of time. No such limitation existed when people lived in permanent settlements. So it became easier. It became possible for a woman to have children much more frequently, maybe with a gap of 15 to 18 months. Well, those younger generation may not understand what I'm trying to tell you about, but those who are of my age probably will remember in their own families having 3, 4 maternal uncles and aunts. It's not a very uncommon scene to have. Well, I tell you, well, in Maharashtrian families, any new bride, the most common blessings you give to a new well-married couple is Ashtaputra Saubhagyavati Bhava, which means have 8 children. From where you have this, you have to have 8 child. I will tell you why we need to have this kind of things. See, average, this is our data, our demographic projections. In Neolithic Chalcolithic age, in early agro-pastoral communities, average lifespan was something like 30 to 35 years. Not everybody was dying at the age of 35, but this is average lifespan. And life expectancy at birth, well, you are all anthropologists, so you know what the difference in average lifespan and life expectancy. I don't have to tell you about that. Average life expectancy at birth was 16 to 18%, which simply means that only 16 to 18% of people that you are, children that you are producing, they may survive to reproduce. So that's the definition of life expectancy. So at birth, life expectancy there is a chance that only 16 to 18% of the individuals will survive to produce more. And infant mortality was something like 60 to 65%, which simply means that half of the children you are producing, they are going to die before completing 1 year of life. So if this is the demographic spectrum coming from our skeletal analysis, you have to have a girl or woman, whatever you call it, she should have first conception very early in her age, very early in her life, 15 to 15th year is a time when you expect the first conception, and around 8 to 10 conceptions during her sexually active phase. Maybe child spacing of 15 to 18 months in between. So if you look at your own family spectrum some 100 years back, this was the normal distance between consecutive brothers and sisters is generally around 18 to around 18 to 20 months, or maybe slightly less than that. So the having Ashtaputra Sabhagi was that blessing which I was telling you about, unless you produce 8, from where you tell me from where this number 8 came, unless you produce 8, there is absolutely no chance that you are, because you are, unless if when you are producing 8, you have to keep some allowance for infant mortality. 60 to 65% our children are dying before completing first year of life. So if you are producing 8, 3 will survive probability till survive, and of these 3, probably 1 or 2 definitely will reach the adulthood. So the minimum expectation will be to produce 8. So all this resulted in deteriorating mother's health, maternal neglect, delayed weaning, lack of weaning care, and everything had very adverse effect on baby's health. The other change that you notice here in agricultural economy is alternation of settlement pattern. As I said earlier, they were staying in small groups. Now we have villages, larger, permanently occupied, the city, townships and cities. So these villages, these crowded settlements resulted in what we call in demography as population. It's not a population crowding only, it is population swelling. And when we have this kind of population swelling, normally the chances of incidence of infection is much more when you have this kind of or swelling. On the contrary, hunter-gatherers were staying in a very small group. They were basically nomads. They were exposed to different kind of eco settings. They were different eco settings and pathogens. So they were, they had increased immunity, and because they were staying in small numbers, they were hardly prone to epidemics. So this is the change impact, main impact which we had after the initiation of agriculture. Now, our subject, we call it, pathology, you know what pathology is, and our subject, we call it paleopathology. It is the study of evolution and progress of disease through long periods of time. So our aim is not to diagnose a problem, but in paleopathology, we try to combine biological and cultural data, and we see how humans adapted to change to their environment. What you are, your disease pattern or injury is just not a matter of chance. Whatever food you are eating, your genetic variance in the first place, and climate, with soil, animals and plants around, your daily occupation, type of food you eat, your dwellings, your clothes, even your social structure, even your customs, your food habits, other things, everything influences your morbidity pattern. So on the basis of the lesions that we see on bone, we try to infer about all these things. In this slide presentation, I am making it more and more general, without avoiding all technicalities. But if there is any problem, please interrupt me, ask me in the at the after I finish, and we can elaborate that point further to your satisfaction. See, there are some problems in pathological diagnosis because only 2 types of reactions we expect, either bone loss or bone formation. Technically, we call it osteoclast and osteoblast. So we, on the basis of the study of how the cells are getting destroyed, how new cells are getting formed, we diagnose the problem. Again, this abnormality in the bone formation and bone loss, it can be certain relation, or many bones of your body can be affected. There are different diseases which influence, which affect different locations of your body. And there is one crucial theoretical problems. When you don't have it, when you have pathological lesion on bone, you know that this person had this kind of problem, health problem, when he was alive, probably cause of death, whatever. But absence of any lesion on the bone, that really doesn't mean the person is in good health. Uh, well, some 4 years back, we all of you have experienced the COVID trauma. So you have this infection, and it within 10-15 days you become history. So this is so immediate. No, there is no point left for the lesion to leave his signatures on bone. So in these kind of things, you hardly find it. So it is a theoretical problem. Absence of any lesion not necessarily indicate good health of the person. Well, these are type of lesions which we can read on bone: infectious diseases, traumatic lesions, joint diseases, metabolic diseases, stress factors. I will give some examples, each one of all these things. Uh, well, indicators of growth disturbance, they can be in the form of growth disturbance of the long bones or growth disturbances in teeth. There are different technical names, so I'm avoiding these all technicalities. We call them enamel hyperplasia, we call them Harris lines. We use different techniques. We use scanning. Well, radiography is one of the basic techniques we use, but we use well, other types of scanners, 3D scanners, etc. There are many high-tech instruments, high-tech help we take from our medical doctor friends, and we arrive at a diagnosis, fairly accurate diagnosis, what we believe. Then ante-mortem and post-mortem fractures, how you any trauma. Now this is, we call it green stick fracture. This is normal expected orientation of the bone, but the other bone you see some kind of bent here, like green bamboo stick. Well, subordinate bones are, they are very elastic. You can't break them. They are so soft. You can't break them easily, like green bamboo stick. You can bend it, so it is called as green stick fracture. Well, on the basis of the injuries that you see on bone, we can diagnose, we can project the type of trauma, type of weapon used for. I will give you some examples. What caused this person? What caused this disease? Now this is total breakage, and the bones are completely healed up. I will give the example, examples of this thing. This is, maybe this is called by, I can tell you just now. This is called as this is blunt geological hammer type of things. This is a this specimen is from Rupkund, this glacial site in Himalayas, where we project that something like hailstorm. Well, there was some kind of hailstorm, so we get this kind of unhealed traumatic lesions on bone, and this is very well healed fracture. Different types of specific or non-specific lesions. Every time it's not possible for us to diagnose the exact etiology. So specific, those where we can do specific, like tuberculosis, like trichomonas infection, like syphilis, we call them specific. And there are series of non-specific infections where we cannot pinpoint the problem. There are many metabolic insults, caused by nutritional deficiencies, vitamin C deficiency, protein calorie enlargement, anemia, vitamin D deficiency, etc., etc. Well, I'm not bothering you with the technical names of all these factors, but there are series of metabolic insults you can see on bone. Then troponomal infections like syphilis, yaws, they are covered under this category. What you see here, this is close-up of this part. See, any damage in the bone, if there is some kind of infection, so infection is in the form, it's a dead, these are dead cells. That's the infection we call it, dead cells. And it becomes, it's not, doesn't belong to you. It becomes as it is treated as a foreign body. So body makes this kind of holes in the bone to drain out that pus from your body. So on the basis of textures of this kind of holes on bone, we can diagnose the intensity of the problem, how severe is the infection is. Then there are series of dental pathologies, pus formation in the jaw, then atresion, caries infection, tartar accumulation, then dental fluorosis, series of them. If any specific questions, I can elaborate here. Well, these kind of things, what you see here, ये जो है ना, ये वाला, the plaque, we call it PLAQUE. When you go to dentist to clean your teeth, he manually, well, where with efforts, it becomes a cement-like thing. It is called a cementum also. Plaque formation, PLAQE or calculus, they require some kind of efforts to take out that those well clean your teeth. So chemical analysis of these tartar, you can, and there are other chemical tests also. We call them trace element studies or carbon isotope studies, SRCA, SRBA, beryllium, selenium. So analysis of these things, we can analyze, we can project about the paleo diet. That is one branch that we are typing now. Then degenerative lesions after a certain age. See, I tell you, well, many of us, I also don't like to put it this way, but well, after 35, your biological decline starts. After, say, age of 45, you are going to have some problem in your lumbar region or in your neck region because you are not using those body parts as you are expected to use them. So what happens is there is an intervertebral disc. When the intervertebral disc gets eroded by some other reason, then two vertebrae, they touch each other, and you have one bone develops over the other bone, and it causes pain. Well, last year I had knee surgery, and I believe many of, well, at least 4 persons I know in our group who had knee surgery recently. So they, well, where your tibia and fibula, tibia and humerus, tibia and femur, when these two bones come together, the, you have great damage in your.
I think we got, yeah, stuck.
Some
Sir,
problem.
we can't hear you.
It's frozen.
Yeah. Yeah. Sir, can you hear us?
Give him a call, Sunita.
Yeah.
Probably hang कर गया है his whatever.
Maybe he's trying to reconnect.
Reconnect also.
Yeah, maybe.
Sir has joined us back.
Yes, sir, we can start.
Yeah, you can see the slides.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So you stopped at the, yeah, knee
We
problem.
did dental pathology. We did. The degenerative relations of the pathologies, back pain and other things that also you saw, I believe. Okay, shall
Yes,
I
sir.
proceed?
Yes, please, sir.
Yeah. And degenerative pathologies, well, after certain age, you are going to have this disease. This is what I was telling about the back pain or knee pain, etc., etc. The dwelling units, they also cause your some kind of problem. See, this figure that I'm telling you, Dr. Veena is, well, credited, should be credited for this kind of pathology, which we see on the maxillary roof here. Well, roof of the molar, or this region, what I'm talking about. So there are some kind of infections, we call them maxillary sinusitis. And because of the air pollution, indoor air pollution, we see this kind of sinus formation, damage of maxillary roof. This figure is a dark thing that you are seeing here. Just believe me, there is one lady which I am showing here is cooking food for a small family of 5 members, and 1 and 3, 3 of her kids, they are standing here, and there is one dog here. So this visibility is almost, this picture was taken some 20 years, well, 15 or 20 years back. And you see the, we calculate amount of, hours a lady should spend in kitchen uh, to prepare food for 5 or 6 members of this family. So then maxillary sinusitis is one of the major health problems. Where sinuses are. Uh, because of this interpollution, this gasless, the uh, huh? inhalation of this toxic air causes this kind of problems. In settled life of farmers, we encouraged domestication of sheep, cattle, pig, horses, or these kind of animals, and they were kept in proximity, very close proximity. All these animals, maybe cattle or sheep or pig or horse, I mean, they will have their own set of parasites. Not only they affect those animals, but they affect you also, because you are keeping these animals very close various from your vicinity. So for the first time in our history, large human groups, animals, waste materials, rubbish, they were concentrated together in the same household. This close proximity conferred advantage to select organisms who were quickly able to jump species, infecting the human population in large numbers at the very first time. The examples, you have smallpox, tuberculosis, measles. See the consumption of milk. Well, we don't know what was the condition in Mesolithic economy, but Chalcolithic economy, when they're keeping this animals, cattle or sheep, goats, or they must be drinking milk. There are evidence, chemical evidences which prove that consumption of milk that was considered as a source of protein for these early farmers. So they were consuming milk, and possibly that was one reason where we had higher incidence of tuberculosis kind of things. Now, more infection rates because of, as I told you, and this is what I was telling you about. The infected bones look like this. This is normal. This is infected bone. We have direct of tetanus here, but they were like there is in a Neolithic economy there is something called as ash mound, we say. So the ash powder and other things. Probably these people in all probability they are using this cow dung as a manure. So the exposure to tetanus diseases must be very low. We are searching for this some evidence to tell us, well, prove us this through these statements. Then cancer-like diseases, like extra bone, unwanted extra bone of these things, we call them, we categorize this or new bone formation. Then habitual stresses, how you use your body parts. This facet that you see on the distal end of tibia. Now, I can't sit in squatting position for a long time, but this person will be very comfortable to sit in squatting position for hours together because he has this kind of facet. A potter cannot sit on chair and make this kind of wheel pots. He has to squat for a long time while sitting in Indian toilet and commode. So after, since we don't have Mesolithic population, probably there was no this kind of facet. We don't see in large frequency in earlier population. The squatting facet, or we call it kneeling facet, the lower distal end of tibia is more common in agricultural economy. Believe me, these two clavicular bones, this bone, they are of the same individual. One bone And there are at least 8 cases of this style. All of them are coming from a site called Banhali. At least 8 cases. One clavicle is shorter than the other clavicle. So how you are using your bones, like this is a picture I'm telling you, manual farming, or this lady, you are grinding. So if I'm right-handed, I will prefer to use one hand more than the other hand. So I can do it with left hand also, but I'm more comfortable to do with right hand because this part is dominant. If I'm carrying say shoulder bag, my purse, I will usually carry, well, either use depending on which part is dominant. I will try to use that part more often than the other. So anatomically, that part looks different, starts looking different than the other part, bilateral asymmetry you see, and you have to develop your eye to see those differences, and that's our specialization. Then series of cranial deformation, how you are using it for your professional use and all that. Now, if you go in a rural area with the cultural anthropologists, well, they will support me. So you see this kind of buggers, and basically they treat this as snake bites or mental disorders or, well, incapability to born a child. So this kind of diseases, this kind of problems that are tried to sort out. Uh, Now, in evidences that you see here is, these are what we're talking about archaeology now. This is well-healed fracture. This site is excavated by our Kishore Basaki site, site called Harirajpur. And he says this is 3000 years BC, 3000 BC, a village in Orissa. And this is some 400, 500 BC as a megalithic site. Here the person is attacked from behind with sword type of lesion. Blow came from here. Blow was so deep that this part is, you have, bone is completely sliced in this thing. This person died because of this wound, but death was not immediate. He survived at least for 15 days to 2 months after this kind of serious injury. And this is totally healed fracture, must have taken at least 1 month. Now, what we are talking about, 3000 years BC or 600 BC in small villages in Orissa or Tamil Nadu. This is site of Papinaikanpatti in Tamil Nadu. There is a local medical expertise available to treat that kind of serious patient even after such kind of serious injury when soft brain-like tissue is exposed. This is very, very well. I take it, this kind of lesions, I take them positively instead of talking about warfare or, well, some rivalry between two groups, other things. I take it as evidence to support how medically we were well equipped even at that point of time. This is our actual experience during our Thailand fieldwork. A series of dental lesions. Here I'm giving an example. Your customs I'm trying to tell you. Earlier we used to call it, well, dental surgery. This lesion, that curvature that you see, this part. What we believe is kind of, well, you use some kind of thread to clean your interdental cavities. So this kind of habit probably resulted in this kind of what you see here marking. There are some series of chronic illness, group burials you see. Now, mass graves, mass burials, mass cremation, you have seen it during COVID times. So this is not very unusual. Here in this grave pit, same one grave pit, I count 4 individuals. 4 individuals are buried together. They don't have time to dig a separate burial for each one of them. So this was the urgency that tells you about the gravity of the problem. The must be something very, very serious problem like plague. Now, these bones, this is not a disease, a person of a diseased bone. The vertical lines that you see, they are called as gnawing marks because of the projecting canines of a rodent, rat. Rat, we see this kind of rat bones in archaeological excavations, say, several hundreds of these kind of smaller bones we see when you're accepting a settlement. So probably around this time, rat attached itself to human societies because we were storing food at one place, so has prospered even since, and posing a threat like plague epidemic. So plague-like things, there is absolutely no time to grave, make graves for separately for seniors. So this kind of things, probably the problem must have been there. We have examined these skeletons very minutely, but we were unable to get any exact etiology. We couldn't diagnose it properly. But there is something called circumstantial evidence, which I am coming to that slide now, where these kind of rat bones probably tells us about the plague epidemic. Then problems associated with shortage water, contaminated water, they were probably very common there. See, the interesting thing is medical exotics were just 3 or 4 minutes more. Medical texts were being conceived and written during proto-historic and early historic period. The time bracket I was telling you about, that was the time when medical texts like Atharvaveda, Shishruta Samhita, or Ayurveda, they were being conceived and being written. Medical exercise ऐसा होता है ना, you don't do exercise, don't do research for the sake of research. When you are inventing something, when you are preparing some medicine, you need some patient to taste your product produce. I tell you, before 2009, May 2009, the word swine flu was not known to any one of us. In November 2014, Ebola ये शब्द हमें मालूम नहीं था, and 2019 November, this word coronavirus, COVID. So earlier we didn't knew these words. So how you, something new when it's occurring, how you face the problem. First, you have to see the incidence of diseases, what the lesion you see, what are the symptoms you see, then give some word for caution and awareness, then search for remedy and go for preservation. Exactly the same kind of thing happened. First, we are not sure whether the coronavirus, because it's a recent history, so whether this coronavirus is same thing which we earlier experienced or it is something different. Then we came to know that this is something different. Then we gave some word caution, mask, only, avoid crowded settlements, etc. Then we search for a remedy. Then वो भले साले दुनिया भर की दवाई देते थे. Then we given for prevention. Then we proper vaccine we invented. So this is how we go. So in a way, the motivating force for development of ancient medicine in India is probably the sufferings of the proto-Greek populations. Since they were having this, they had this kind of problem, it resulted in the invention of medical technology. Vedas, we can date Vedas back to 1500, where we have in Sanskrit literature, we had knowledge. They had fair knowledge of human body. They were starting developing, but it wasn't at this time. The medical profession was not an independent profession. Probably priests or physicians, they were basically doing some kind of exercise, probably for magical religious, that style. Then we have Atharvaveda, Pali's Ashtadhyayi, then Charak Samhita, Bhela Samhita. These are the time brackets where these texts are associated. See, you can see how the medical technology evolved. First, it was attributed to supernatural natural powers, and gradually we knew what exactly etiology is, what causes them. So this is how we developed medically. Sushruta is the ultimate last word on which the medical science, Ayurveda is based on, where is 3rd to 4th century available text is dated back to 3rd and 4th century AD. There are descriptions of 11120 problems, medical problems. There is a list of 700 medicinal plants, detailed study of anatomy, 64 preparations of mineral sources, 57 preparations based on animal sources. So all this knowledge you have Shishruta Samhita. Not only this medical knowledge, but they had told us that, Shishruta Samhita tells us about 125 surgical instruments which we can use for some kind of for surgery. Now coming back to archaeology, you have cities like Harappa, Mohenjo-daro, Biso. The Harappa में क्या होता था? They were exporting masala यहाँ से बेचते थे. That was the main item for trade. I don't believe in this kind of things. What I think is, हमारे यहाँ opium. I don't know. Many of archaeologists object to my comment, but I tell you, opium-like things. I am sure that many of us, at least of my, they have experienced. जब छोटा बच्चा होता है रोने लगता है तो माँ उसको ओपियम खिलाती थी. इवन माय होम आई हैव आल्सो कंज्यूम्ड ओपियम when I was a kid. Opium was probably one of the main items of export.
Hello, sir.
It's again frozen.
Wait. Call.
He has to reconnect, I suppose.
Yeah.
Must be opium.
Oh, good.
Oh, now disconnected.
Sunita, our generation has more problem with the technology than you all have.
Right. So, are you back? Hello, sir. Sir, we can't hear you. We can't hear you, sir.
Yeah, one second.
Now we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. ठीक है. So coming back to archaeology, coming back to that one additional angle, we call it forensic angle. So paleopathology is one thing that we are often consulted when there is a problem of identifying. We call it personal identification of the problem. So this is one of during my career. It can't be a full-time profession, but during my career of 25 years, I was consulted by home ministers of at least I think 7 or 8 states. And wherever we go, wherever we went, where I went, well, everything was so precious, so highly dramatic situation where our expertise really counts them. And well, luckily everything is done. There is some kind of mutual agreement, some confidentiality agreement is there. So we can't discuss that angle here. Ancient DNA, that is was one angle we are currently tapping. Now, these are the cases, depending on, I tell you an example, depending on the type of cracks you see on bone, we can exactly project at what kind of temperature it was in, whether it was green stick fracture while the flesh is on, whether it was accidental exposure to fire, it was cremation fire, or so all these things, all these lesions, the coloration of the bone, all these things on the basis of that we can count the exact temperature of the furnace. Also, on the basis of these kind of things, we can, they are also helpful for in forensic case to shortlist, personal identification. This is the last. There is something like health index coming up recently. This project was initiated by Western University some 15 years back. Under this history project, they covered United States, they covered Europe, each and component of this global history of health project. is now is on cards, and ours is the only institution from Asia, from the Indian subcontinent participating in this exercise. We expect at least 50 world level class universities to participate in the project, and we estimate a big data to be generated, which six dissertations, six will come out of this exercise. Don't ask me anything about this figure. I can't read it, but this is how they say health index. So, if you, I'm not sure. Well, I will. Well, let's be positive. Is here, so their generation will probably contribute significantly for the success of this project. So, thank you very much. This is the organization we belong to. Sorry, because of this small software problem. I apologize for 15 minutes, some 10 minutes which I took extra. Sorry.
Thank you.
Any?
Thank you so much, Professor Walimbe. It was such
Thank you.
Such an interesting lecture, and many new things for us who are from social and cultural background, but you made it so simple that we really understood how archaeology, and especially through bone, you could trace out the history of human beings, and especially how settled agriculture made life completely different, adding on to problems of health. And you also mentioned about the human and animal contact and the problems. Now we are calling it as One Health. So that's interesting to see how post COVID we are talking about something like One Health, which has been there before, much researched, I suppose, and something on that if you can reflect. And I would now open this forum for any questions, comments, compliments. Please feel free to unmute. And, sir.
I will appreciate more than compliments. I will appreciate to have some comments, some suggestions, which are much greater value to us. That will help us improve, because our subject in India is only 30-year old, 25, 30-year old. So we need to improve a lot. So your comments are really helpful. We look forward to that.
Sir, thank you so much.
Don't just give compliments. Comments are more welcome.
Yes, sir. Arvind, sir?
I mean, you are more dense, but still, Subhash, compliments to you, because you dealt with the subject which we didn't know much about it. And at this point, when I was listening to you, not paleopathology, but lifestyle, from nomadic life to settled life, and then complications of settled life, I think it requires more collaborative research between the type of people you have in your group and the cultural anthropologists and population scientists to work and find out something which is interesting correlation, I think will come out. Over.
Thank you, sir. Sir, can you hear us? Walimbe, sir? Hello.
Archaeologists, the anthropologists can contribute more to the discipline of ethnoarchaeology, and that will really help us to project our culture.
I think we again lost the connection. Sir?
He's trying to sort it out.
Hello.
ऐसा होता है, अभी क्या करें?
होता है सर.
So that's fine now.
होता
So
है,
I think, yeah, you switched off the video.
Yeah, well, we really appreciate help of a cultural anthropologist. demographers suffer from demography. We need support from medical sciences. I mean, we have developed our team. We have professional radiologists. We have professional pediatricians that are working with us, because these are the problems which we really face. Extremely, we need those supports, and of course, archaeology is one thing. And not only this, we molecular science, then we have chemistry, even physics, because no एक bone का cross section histology बोलते हैं ना, cross section. So even that cross section tells us about the degree of malnourishment these kids had. So we expect support from all these professionals, science support, science and social scientists, even Sanskrit scholars we need, because we want to corroborate our pathological evidence with the actual text. जो टेक्स्ट में जो लिखा है, आयुर्वेद में जो लिखा है, if we get anything parallel in archaeology, that is one thing. Well, another 10 years down the line, we are going to work in this direction, and which will be extremely necessary to understand our level, knowledge level. 2000 years back में कैसा था, कैसे हम डेवलप होते थे, that will also really, well, we are looking forward for that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
और कोई some comments?
Yes, sir.